Steph, thank you so much for talking to TJ today. We're talking about one of my favourite topics. Previously on the podcasts, we've discussed improvisation, but not quite the actual comedy side of things. So let's talk about comedy. Perhaps, in fact, give us a bit of a synopsis of your journey into where you are now and your background in comedy.
So I started out in stand-up comedy when I was about 21. And I think quite similar to a lot of people in comedy. So I didn't have a great school experience. It was always the class clown, and then came into my own when I went to university, which I did performing arts. And it was there, one of my tutors said to me, Steph, I really want you to try stand-up, and pushed me to doing it in a real club, not just because I did it in front of my peer group at uni. And he was like, no, that's not good enough. I think you need to try it in front of a real group. And I loved it. And because I'm not an academic person, I'm dyslexic, it's the one thing that I kind of excelled at and found that, well, that's unique. That's something that other people say that they can't do, but I can do. And it taught me so much. I mean, and died so much as well. So you become really resilient. But that was back in Liverpool at a place called The Pilgrim. And they did open mic nights, and then you go on to do clubs. You do the free 10-minute spots. You realise you're a bit rubbish, and then you get better, and you build it up. So I did it professionally for 10 years, and won awards as well, which I'm super proud of because I was the first woman and youngest person to win the Liverpool Echo Comedian of the Year Awards. I came a very high runner-up in the Northwest Comedian Awards, and I came second in the Women in Comedy Awards, next to Nina Conti, who just picked me to the post.
Oh, wow. Amazing. It's quite a broad church, comedy, isn't it? We've got satire, slapstick, sitcom, other types that don't begin with the letter S. What works well in business, do you find? Or is that a little too prescriptive way of looking at it? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it is. The way I always talk to people about is, look, humour generally is something that we can all learn, and it's from our upbringing, it's who we're surrounded with that influences that. But in storytelling in business, I think it's really, really important, and you can bring people along with humour, and observations are a good way to do that, but generally observations about yourself. And people become a little bit scared. One of the questions I always get asked whenever I'm in front of a business audience is, do we need a HR process to be able to use humour and comedy in business? I'm like, no, because you'll kill it, man. And if you're going to offend someone, you're going to do it anyway. So we kind of know, we're adults, what to say and what not to say. But humour and comedy, it can be used anywhere. I don't think it should be prescriptive, but definitely in storytelling. And I see so many leaders who are so wooden and they just haven't got that connection. And one of my things is to get everybody through stand-up comedy training, because it just makes such a difference in terms of how you communicate, how you come across, your awareness of the audience, storytelling, all that kind of stuff.
That Maya Angelou quote about how people will never forget how you made them feel. Surely this is a great reason to use comedy in your presentation and training.
Yeah, exactly. So, when we laugh and when we make other people laugh, so it has two kind of whammies. If we talk about the science of it, and that's my other passion now is psychology, which is, how Laughology has come about, is when we laugh ourselves, it pings up all the neurotransmitters in the brain, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. And I talk about a dose of these neurotransmitters actually make us learn and make us remember information, because we learn through emotional response. So that's why that quote that you've just said is so important, because people remember that feeling that you gave them. So that's one whammy. So they're lit up to what you're saying, and they're engaged with what you're saying because you're making them feel good. But the second whammy of it is that you've made them laugh. And because they're laughing, I always say, when the mouth is open with laughter, you can pop in a little bit of information and people don't even realise you're doing it. Because when they're laughing, they've got their guard down, and people are more open to challenge, they're more open to ideas. And so there's two whammies there. And then you've got the social connection, you know, because you've made someone laugh, you've made them feel good. And because you've made them feel good, then you're more likable to them. And as a leader, likability, or in any business, likability is huge. So there's so many facets of it which are important and linked to that, how we make people feel.
With comedy, it's quite a difficult thing for some people. I'm certainly not saying it's easy for me, but you know, some people are more naturally funny. Some people may have to work a bit harder, like any skill or talent, really. So what are your tips for improving your comedic abilities and then applying them in work?
The phrase naturally funny is an interesting one, because there's no one born, there's no genetic makeup for humour that we know of, but it does massively impact how we are brought up. So people who seem naturally funny probably are brought up in a family that are more extroverts and more encouraged to be like that, but we can learn it. And my top tips would be, and this sounds really bizarre, don't try and be funny. And people are going, what? But if you try and be funny, you're generally not. So tell a true story, and a story that's true about yourself. And you know, when you're in the pub and you've got that one go-to story, or wherever you are, and you've got that one go-to story that you know that will get a laugh. And over the years, you've exaggerated a little bit, and that's got a laugh, and you've added a little bit on. So that's it. You know, it's stories about yourself that are true is number one. Don't try and be funny. Exaggerate little bits. That's the important part. And always direct it at yourself as well, because, you know, it's safe, but also people love laughing at you. And if you can find any little observations, things that are nuances in terms of human behaviour that you know other people do, they're the winners, really.
I've got one last question. It follows on from that one, really. I think some people may think that comedy doesn't have a place in business, or it kind of, when you bring levity to a situation, it's sometimes at the expense of authority. So the final question really is, how can you kind of work it into what you do without losing that authority and maintaining kind of authority, as it were? What do you think?
So there's a time and place for everything, you know, and sometimes it's appropriate to have a laugh, and sometimes it's not appropriate to have a laugh. And I think, you know, intelligent people, human beings, we kind of understand that social awareness. And so actually, I think it does bring a lot more credibility to you as a leader, because it shows that you have different sides of your personality, and it's also a real skill. So if tensions are high, and I use it a lot myself, if tensions are high, then I will use humour. And people always say to me, give me an example, but it's so in the moment that, and it might just be a word that I use or something that I say just to bring everyone on board and ease that tension. So actually, I think it's got a huge place in business. And it's something that does bring a lot of credibility and make sure that those interactions are smooth and able to move forward.
Should we go for an unplanned question?
Yeah.
Just a light question to finish it off. What are your favourite comedy series? What do you always find yourself quoting? What do you turn to and fall back on your favourite comedy?
So I'm dead old-fashioned, only fools and horses. Just love the falling through the bar and the light, you know, when he's putting the light switch on. Absolutely love that. So I'm a bit of an old geek, really, when it comes to old comedy stuff. But then also Joan Rivers, you know, she was just a legend, really, in the world of comedy. But so I'd say I'm quite old hat like that.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for your time. Really good to see you, and really looking forward to your next Last Laugh column for TJ as well. Maybe one day soon we'll even say hi face to face again.
That'd be lovely. Yeah, that'd be great.
Take care.
Bye.